Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 106 of the podcast. Super excited to be here today, whether you're dialing in from Skokie, Illinois, Anchorage, Alaska, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Leeds, UK, Portugal, Sweden, or all of the above at the same time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. On today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about a very important Check the Wire episode that will actually be coming out. You can listen to an audio format tomorrow on the Check the Wire podcast. But long story short, you guys know we run another podcast at Check the Wire, and so I'm in charge of, while Ryan's gone, getting a new guest, lining them up, and kind of scheduling all that. Well, the whole directive, or at least what I wanted to accomplish while Ryan was gone, was to get a bunch of people who are doing wildly different things in the space, and both of it is to learn, to share, to provide value and insight, and see what it really takes to kind of make a full run at this, and also just a wide range of things that you can do, whether it's everything from Mathis podcasting to what GrandPOOBear is doing. The episode comes up tomorrow. I really think you're gonna like it if you didn't watch it live. But one of the big things we talked about, and it's really something I've been grappling and grasping with, because I'm not running at red, but pretty darn close in terms of, well, not even red, but just in terms of how I look at everything that I'm doing, and am I doing double work where I don't need to, and where can I free up some time to be more creative, to put out better content and things of that nature. And so I took a lot of, very, very simple, it was almost like you never know what's going to impact you, what you're going to hear, what little thing you're going to hear. And in the back of my head, I've always known that the way that I'm doing things right now on YouTube, which is recording exclusive content for it, when I'm already doing 4 to 5 hours of content a day, isn't necessarily the most efficient, and isn't, I think I can be doing better. And what I mean by that is I always felt like there's gotta be a way, because right now we have 2 YouTube channels. We have the YouTube exclusive channel where we post 2 new videos a day. Right now it's double Spelunky, and on the weekends it's 1 video a day. It's 1 Spelunky, which is just exclusively made only for YouTube. And then on we have a second channel, which is just all the Twitch VODs. So it's literally just the Twitch VODs cut and pasted for people that like to watch them on YouTube as opposed to on Twitch's viewer. But still, even with that, I haven't been able to kind of connect the dots. But talking to GrandPOOBear about what he's doing is essentially he has a full-time editor that does 1 YouTube video a day that comes directly from his Twitch. And it's edited down, it's highly produced, it's, whether the best moments, the best raids. But really, one of the things he said to me that was kind of like a connecting piece is that he has series, that his editor knows, hey, these are the series that we're going to run from the Twitch content, and here's what we're looking for. And over time, it started to work in terms of, hey, well, we're going to try this series and then let's see which one works, and does 1 video a day that way. But for me on my end, like, I think that's a really, really good way to do it. And I'm going to do a hybrid of it, and I'll explain what I've decided to do. But it just, if you don't watch Twitch, or if you do watch it and you miss a day, it essentially it'll be like the best thing of the day, in a highly produced, edited format that you may normally have never watched because you don't watch Twitch. Or if you do, you wouldn't necessarily mind watching it again or for the first time on YouTube. I don't know. I just think it just clicked. Something clicked. And so my next move was to a couple things. One, right now I got a team of 3, and I think it's spread a little thin in terms of where we're at, and in terms of ideally what would be the best move. But here's where I'm at. I'm very loyal, and I think that the people in place right now can help, can get to where I'm looking to go, right? And get to where I'm looking to do with the channel. And part of it is giving people a shot. And then really what I've done a not great job of since I brought on the second editor is giving any sort of direction whatsoever. You know, I'm like, hey, you know, do, you know, here's a video that I'm looking to do, you know, do this one video a week. And that's kind of it. And really has not been fair to that individual, but he's done a great job. And so I'm getting more involved, but the plan is eventually, like, we have a couple running series, and then we see how it goes from there, right? Make adjustments. And I'm like, for example, what I've done now is with the last episode that the editor did, I watched the entire thing and recorded a voiceover watching it, giving, you know, changes, insights. Hey, this is good. This is not good. This is what we would change. Hey, this is a great flex right here. So things of that nature. So, and I'm getting more involved, and I think for me, that's what I'd rather pour my time into. I'd rather pour my time into, you know, working with the team and, you know, kind of getting on the same page to kind of get the team, you know, with the expectations and in line, to start doing that. Like, ideally, I don't think I would ever get rid of YouTube exclusive content, in terms of, like, I would always like to have something like that, but I do think it's probably going to move to a hybrid once I feel really comfortable with it. Once I think it's a great product and we're all in a line where it's probably going to move to, you know, one YouTube exclusive video a day, and then ideally one highly edited video per day. That's the goal. And so it just makes a lot of sense. And who knows, maybe one day I don't do YouTube exclusive stuff. But even without doing that, right, it's not ignoring YouTube as a platform, right? I just think it's making better content for YouTube. And I think, and it's at a funny time right now, because after, you know, 8 years on YouTube with Spelunky 2 coming out, and, you know, we have the 2 Spelunky videos coming out a day, it's really hitting a stride. So it's kind of like a funny time where, you know, the videos are doing really well consistently. The subscriber base is growing, and I'm still like, how can I do this better? And really what it comes down to is for me, I feel like I'm running around, and I don't have any time to be creative and, you know, move the needle on Twitch. For example, the way a typical day will go is I'll get in the office, you know, say 8 o'clock, and then I'll record usually the daily Spelunky for the day, which is, depending on how it goes, is about 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how we do, but realistically call it 45 minutes. And then I'll record a couple more Spelunky videos to kind of get, you know, really call it 10 to 12 hours a week of YouTube exclusive content, right? That's a lot. And then immediately after, depending on how the runs go, it could say I'm at like 10:45, and I know I have another 10 minutes of Spelunky just based on how the run's going. I could continue going and, you know, be late to start the Twitch show at like 11:05 because I'm in the middle of a run and I can't, you know, I can't really stop the recording and come back after. And that's pretty much how it is. Like, I'm usually redlining right up to the minute. So I don't really have the way that the production that I have now, there's not really time to set stuff up like I normally do on Twitch, like, you know, to add new sound clips, have new ideas for bits or segments. And so the day after, actually the day after the GrandPOOBear podcast, I stopped recording at, I think, 9:45. I'm like, dude, just take a minute. Just take a minute and don't redline this thing to go right in your Twitch show. Take a minute and plan it out like you used to. And it was on that day that, you know, I loaded in a couple new sound clips. I had a speed run set up for Tarkov. I got everything on the pre-show was ready. The show started on time. It just was had a different, like, headspace going into the show because I had time to prepare for it. It wasn't just, all right, hey, hurry up and run. But, you know, there's a trade-off for that. The trade-off was I didn't record as many YouTube episodes as early as I normally do. So it's kind of a really big shift in how I'm thinking about YouTube. And I just think, you know, there's a couple big reasons. One, I think ultimately edited videos are the way to go for most content on YouTube. I think something like Spelunky is unique, where people want to see the entirety of the run, or at least for right now. Tarkov, I think, is something that could be really edited down because there's so much downtime. But I think, my opinion, YouTube is best suited for highly edited, highly produced content. And realistically, that's not what I've been doing on YouTube over the past couple years. And I always, you know, we can go back and listen to some of the podcasts where I talk about, oh, I think I have this Tarkov thing down. And really, some of the wins we've had on YouTube, like kind of surprise ones, were highly edited content, like Polybridge, that, you know, that was just kind of out of nowhere. I just think that's for me, I think that's going to be how we move the needle on YouTube, both for, you know, making better content that people are going to enjoy, and also discoverability. You know, someone isn't necessarily going to watch a 45-50 minute video of something that we do unless they're already kind of part of the community. I just think that's super rare. And so I think it's more about speaking the language of the platform. And, you know, I think there's exceptions everywhere, right? You know, I think there are some series that warrant very little editing in terms of making the best content. You know, Spelunky, you know, is one. And I feel very strongly about that. And something about when GrandPOOBear talked about, you know, having a series so the editor knows exactly what to do. Because in my mind, the way I was thinking about editing is, hey, I have to come up with the ideas and say, hey, this is exactly what I want to do. And I think on the front end, I do need to do that and give that directive until, you know, we get to a point where creatively I'm comfortable with the editors. And my thing is, it may be a couple editors. I don't know how it's going to go. But for me right now, I always want to give the people on the team an opportunity to kind of do what I think that they have a shot to do in terms of creatively and work wise. I think they can do it. It's a combination of you know, not necessarily have they done it in the past, do they have the desire to? And it's always, for me, 100%, I'm willing to take the time to be patient, to work with them, to say, hey, this is how we want this, or hey, if you don't know how to do this yet, that's okay, you know, in Premiere Pro or whatever. Because I look at a big example of Zane the editor, right? When he first started working on the team, you know, he had some rudimentary editing skills, but as, you know, the years, I think it worked for 2 years, maybe a year and a half. As he went on with every video he did, he got better and better because he had at-bats to do it. You know, I'd give him feedback. He would learn some stuff on his own. He'd try some new things, be like, yeah, this worked, this didn't. And I think it's going to be a similar thing. And if not, that's okay too. I'll find another solution. But I just know that's going to be the direction of the YouTube channel moving forward, because I liked how it felt to have 30 minutes before a show to get ready and plan some things out. And then I know and I just feel like it'll just free me up creatively to do and have different ideas. And so you'd be like, well, what's the trade-off? The trade-off is, on my end, the trade-off is investing a lot of time and into the team, which I'm 1,000,000,000% willing to do, and also more money. You know, am I willing to invest more money to either maybe, you know, definitely pay these editors more money because they're going to be doing more work, but also maybe I have to go hire another editor who may be way more familiar with this. But to me, I'm always willing to work with and take a shot on the people that are already on the team, because I believe in them. And I just, you know, I like working with them, even if it's something that someone has never done before, right? It's like, hey, here's what I'm looking for. You know, and my expectations are pretty straightforward. I don't expect anything to be perfect. I'm really patient. This is not, you know, brain surgery, right? Like, we get a ton of at bats. And so for me, it's when I throw something like this at the team or an editor, it's like, okay, hey, look, you know, number one, do you want to do it? Do you have a desire to do it? Do you have if not, that's cool. If you do, all right, let's do it. And then, you know, we'll walk through and kind of go through the growing pains of, hey, this is good. This is something we need to clean up. And so I don't know. So I'm excited about it, because I just feel like ideally for me, I want to focus on making the Twitch show and YouTube as best as possible. But what that means is I need to physically spend my time creating the content on Twitch so that the editors can do their thing. So ideally, what does that mean? Maybe I end up extending the show longer, right? So it's not like I'm not going to be, instead of spending those 2 hours a day making YouTube videos, maybe I extend the show by another half hour, an hour. But I just know that there's going to be a shift in how we're doing things on YouTube. And that was really all because of the conversation with GrandPOOBear. And for context, his editor does a phenomenal job. His YouTube does extremely well. And he focuses on one thing, doing the content, right? For, I think, as many people as possible. But it just was a really, really, I think, important moment for me because I felt like I'm working hard, but I'm not necessarily working smart. And I think that's something that's been on my mind for a while, and I feel a little bit more clarity about it. So now it's just a matter of going about working with a team or hiring someone new to, help execute that plan. So I'm really excited about it, and I feel good about it. Now it's just a matter of continuing to move the needle, and I think you'll see that this week on YouTube. There's going to be 3 edited videos, which in the past it's been 1 edited video per week, and I think part of that too is communicating it to the audience on YouTube on what to expect. And one of the for direct example, one of the things I've told the editors, I'm like, hey, look, typically on YouTube, people have seen non-edited content. So in the first second, whatever we can do to let someone know this is edited, we need to do that, whether it's a close-up with a zoom, some kind of fade. But when you're seeing an edited video. So, whether it's a black and white filter with a voiceover, something, so that they know, hey, look, this content is different than what I'm used to seeing here. And so that's it's a pretty big shift, and I'm excited to see how it goes, over the next weeks and months. But it's like a big change in cardinal direction for me on YouTube. Another thing, kind of speaking of, that I had the time, I had this idea. I'm like, hey, let's speed run every Escape from Tarkov level. I think it was on Friday's show for Twitch. And so I set everything up, had, the speed run set up. Had our character ready to go, all the equipment, blah, blah, blah. And then in the middle of the show, it's really the first time in 3 years of playing Tarkov, there was problems with the Tarkov servers. We've never had that happen. So I gave it like 2 or 3 times, and it was like 45 minutes. And then I kind of had to throw the plan out the window. And I was a little internally disappointed because I was really excited to do it. And, but, kind of the show goes on. And I think, this is one of the things we're talking about, especially on Twitch, is you can plan out the best show possible, or what you think is the best show. But if something goes wrong outside of your control, what are you going to do, right? It would have been easy to kind of get salted and be like, oh, these servers, blah, blah, blah. But you're just like, all right, hey, look, this isn't what we had planned, but let's pivot. So I ended up pivoting to a lot of Spelunky. And, the show worked out good. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, but, to me, it's just like, all right, hey, did we put on a good show, even though it wasn't what we planned? Yeah. Another thing that, that's been good over the past week is we tried a new, and really I give credit to the new editor on the channel, Bridge, and we played a horror game on Twitch, and I think it was like 4 or 5 hours long. And I talked to him, after the GrandPOOBear stuff. I'm like, hey, look, let's edit this entire playthrough down. It came like Spooky Mansion, 1,000 Doors of Horror, something, jump scare, something like that. And I'm like, hey, let's edit the entire playthrough down to a 20-minute video so that someone who may have not watched on Twitch or may have missed a segment on Twitch would want to watch that and see the entirety of the game and the reactions and things like that. And and I think I gave some feedback on that and watched the video and gave feedback. But to his credit, like, the video did really well. In context, I think I can pull it up right now. I think it had like 3,000 views, which for the channel is really, really good. And so to me, that's like another indication of going down this YouTube path and changing things a little bit. I think it's going to be really good. And so, and I got to give him daps on that, because I don't think I told him that. But just really excited. You know, it's been a really good time to kind of experiment. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what matters, is that I kind of always go off internal feel, right? If something doesn't feel like it's moving the needle, or that I'm like, hey, this is not right because I can't creatively do what I want to do because of, you know what I'm spending my time on, let's find a solution. And so I think that's always important, whether you listen to this podcast or you talk to someone or you have friends or you listen to a different pod. I just feel like talking to different people and seeing how they're doing things, it's just always kind of goes back to the thing, like iron sharpens iron, right? So, you know, I don't know where this change is going to lead, but I know it's the right move. And I was always just kind of missing that piece, but I got that piece from talking to someone. And, you know, wasn't necessarily looking for the piece, but it just kind of hits you. And I think that's, as long as you're out there doing things and attempting things, it could be in anything, and just trying new stuff. That's kind of what this podcast is all about, is just doing things, adjusting, seeing what the results are. How do people like it? What do they like? What do they not? And then just keep moving forward. And you're not always going to hit home runs. You're not always going to, you know, hit grand slams or make great videos or great shows. But as long as you keep getting better each time and listening to the audience and making small tweaks, at the end of the day, after years, you kind of see that you've come a long way. And so it's a really exciting time, and I'm really excited about that. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this diary update of the Dan Gheesling podcast. And that's also something that's on my radar, is, and I've talked about this last week, I believe, about just what's the next step for this podcast, right? Because I really want it to be focused on interviewing people, the majority of the episodes, and then doing one of these kind of podcasts like once a month or maybe max twice a month. But right now, just with the output that I'm able to do, I think when Ryan Gary comes back to check the wire, then I'll probably be able to do more of that. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys have rated or have not rated the podcast on iTunes and you listen to it there, that would help out tremendously. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys next Monday.